Hey folks, welcome to the Leeds View for the match reaction for Leeds United 3, Nottingham Forest 1, and a hell of a game of football last night. I don't know, a massive result for Leeds in general, let alone just the fact that it was against a relegation rival, and it gives Leeds a bit of breathing room coming into this weekend, gives us a chance to at least relax a little bit. It's another game down. We'll go through all the bits and pieces. We'll chat about the individual performances, the total performance, what it means for Leeds, and we'll go through the game in a bit of detail as well. I'm still in my hotel, so apologies for the audio on this. It might not sound brilliant, just using one of these little tiny microphones. So, yeah, we'll crack on. We'll get into it. I want to make sure I got something out today. Anyway, also, if you want to support the channel, you can do so by any of the affiliate links. Leeds are having a 55% off sale down below. You can check out the links for that. And we signed up with OK Jersey if you want to get some World Cup shirts heading into the World Cup. There's links down below for that as well. Check them out if you want to. All right, let's crack on and get stuck into this. We'll just start off with the general conversation around last night's game. And it was a fantastic performance by Leeds United. We've seen this performance this season. We'll go through the thoughts and processes before the game of where everyone's head was at. But yeah, it was a loud night in Ellen Road. Great game to be there for. Rotten night, really heavy rain. The pitch was cutting up, really heavy pitch. So that did impact them in little ways across the course of both of the halves. But yeah, overall, it's a huge result for Leeds United. Currently, as things sit at the time of recording before West Ham play Burnley, Leeds United have a 9-point gap to the relegation zone plus goal difference, and that improved itself. It would have been nice to get a clean sheet last night, but you know, when you've got a 6-foot giant coming on and gets a 1v1 header, those things are going to happen, unfortunately. But still, overall, it puts Leeds in a much better position. The goal difference is back to a better place, and against West Ham specifically. Spurs as well, level on points with Spurs, level on points with Crystal Palace. So it's a different level of pressure for them as well this weekend. So it's not just a case of us getting away from West Ham. It's the sides just above us having a little look over their shoulder and thinking, Leeds United aren't out of this. You know, we're not out of this mess. So there's still a possibility of getting dragged back into it. We'll go through the bits, as I say. We'll just go through the general first half performance. And it was definitely the better half for Leeds. Started the second half really, really strongly. The break and play damaged it. But the first half, Leeds just came out of the traps firing all stillness. And that's what everyone wanted to see. We wanted an aggressive approach last night. We wanted to see Leeds on the front foot. Didn't want to see them sitting back on their 18-yard line like we did against Everton in the second half of that game. And this Leeds side all season have proven, they've shown they are a much better side defending even when they're attacking side. Leeds' best course of defence is definitely attack. And they did it last night. They were excellent, absolutely excellent from the first whistle. They were busy. They were moving the ball. There were moments of sloppy passes during the first 15, 20 minutes, maybe at the game. And then, well, more so when Forest got a bit of a grip in the middle of the half. But after that, Leeds' passing was crisp. It was fast. There were players moving off the ball. Things we didn't see against Arsenal. People wanting to get on the ball and wanting to make an impact on the game. And it was excellent. You go and back to the very start of this. Let's talk about the team sheet that came out before the game. And I think I tweeted that the conversations in this game will depend on the result. This team sheet will either be a stroke of genius or be a massive talking point come full time, depending on the result. And yeah, no Facundo Buonanotte in the squad. Daniel Farke made a tactical decision. He basically said that Dan James was back and it was a toss up between Buonanotte and Willy Gnonto, and he chose Willy Gnonto. Didn't get on the park again, which I thought he could have had an impact last night actually as well. But he went with Dan James, and James had a bit of an impact when he did come off the bench. But the question marks were around the rest of it. No Okafor started, no Yacobi all in the side, despite the fact he was on the bench. James Justin starting at right centre back. That has worked at times this season. I think we'd rather see Yacobi back in that centre three, but how wrong were we after the full-time whistle went? James Justin was phenomenal last night for Leeds. No sign of Yacobi get on the pitch. Doesn't need to. Give him another week to get himself sharp. Shot Longstaff, I thought he'd come in midfield for Anton Stack. He didn't. He went to Ilya Groove. And then no Okafor up front or behind the front with Brendan Aronson. So there were question marks around the side about the lineup. There were people who weren't happy with the team. People thought it was a mistake. Ultimately, managers live and die by their decisions. We can judge things retrospectively with the benefit of hindsight and look back and say whether it was or wasn't a good team sheet. But in the end, excellent performance by Leeds. They managed to put in a really aggressive, full-bodied performance. They went at them. They competed physically. They competed footballing. Boys, that's the way you want to put that. And some excellent moves off the ball as well. So, yeah, all in all, it ended up being a team sheet that worked last night. And again, as I say, there were question marks around it after the game. You went to the performance. Leeds started incredibly strongly. First 15, 16 minutes, Leeds were on the front foot, created a couple of half chances. and were definitely the better of the two sides. Forest looked a little bit rattled. They're definitely missing a lot of their back four. You could see that there just wasn't the cohesiveness there that you would expect from a Sean Dyche defence. But Leeds took advantage of that. Then there was a bit of a spell, maybe 15 minutes in the middle of the first half where Forest got a grip of the game. Gibbs White was starting to pull the strings. There was a couple of gaps down Leeds United's left-hand side. They were starting to exploit them, get in behind and get crosses into the penalty area. Carl Darlow dealt with most of them pretty easy. He had a very good game last night as well. And then Leeds took over again. Leeds got their goal. Probably got the goal against the run of play, the first one. And what a pass. What a ball from Ilya Grub. The definition of the word king off his left foot. Backspin on it right in front of Jayden Bogle to run in the first time finish and to get his first goal of the season. It was excellent. Absolutely excellent. And Leeds probably, on the balance of things, it deserved it at that point. They hadn't been in the game for about 10 minutes, but they still probably deserved it at that point. Then the second goal comes. And again, it comes into the penalty area. Lovely flick by Brendan Aronson to James Justin, who has a shot blocked by the keeper, and then he squares it to Noah Okafor, who tapped in. Okafor had a very good game off the ball or defensively last night, I thought. Even a couple of good moments on the ball as well, but his defensive work last night really stood out. Some really big tackles from him. And you go in, Forest get a little bit more of a spell before half-time, but nothing that really caused Leeds any major issues, and you go in at half-time 2-0 up. And this is the questions that start to get asked then about Leeds' performances this season. Will we come out in the second half and will we perform to our best? Will we get at them, or will we sit back on the 18-yard line? We can't afford to do that against a Sean Dyche side. They didn't. They came out and they went for it straight away, and they scored immediately. Ilya Grub involved again. Tries to cross the ball on his right foot, can't get an angle, checks onto his left foot. And from where we were sitting right behind him in the West Stand, you could see he was lining up a little bender into the far left corner. Did get a huge amount on it, but got enough on it. Put in Dominic Calvert-Lewin's path and a beautiful chest into the back of the net to get his 10th goal of the season. So Ilya Grub finished last night with 2 assists, 3 for the season for him. Not bad for a defensive midfielder. We'll go through his details in a minute as well. And then Leeds absolutely dominated the game at that point. Up until about the 70th minute. All Leeds. They could have already had another goal. Calvert-Lewin obviously hit the post in the first crossbar in the first half as well. But Leeds were on the front foot. They were definitely the ascendancy. Forest were all over the place at that side. Sean Dyche started to make changes. They weren't necessarily working. There were some strange ones as well. Looked like he was maybe throwing the towel in a little bit early. And then the stoppage happened. Ilya Grub gets a smack to the face. Plenty of blood so short, and he was down for quite a while. The referee had on 9 minutes of injury time for it, and that soaked up Leeds' momentum at that point and gave Nottingham Forest a chance to regroup and get back into it. It was always going to be tough trying to keep themselves warm and get back to that tempo that they had before that extensive break that happened. And Forest came into the game. They were always going to come back at some point. Their changes started to make an impact. Daniel Farkas started to make the changes he probably needed to make. Could have again made them a little bit earlier, but ultimately, in the end, it didn't really matter. They brought on Lorenzo Lucas, 6'7". I would have liked to have seen Sebastian Borneo or Jacobiel come on at that point because of the height that they would have added at the back line and maybe marking a bit tighter. James Justin being in there is a bit small, but Luca did get between Pascal Stroke and Joe Rodon to score pretty much a point-blank header. The only blame for that goal is maybe they should have been a bit tighter to him, but they did get tighter to him after that. But yeah, outside of that, wasn't a huge amount Carl Darlow could have done with it. But yeah, go through the individual performances as well. Carl Darlow, 2 huge saves in the game. One in the first half, a fantastic save from him that was going to the left-hand side of the goal. Beautiful save. And in the second half, towards the end of the game, makes a very big save as well to take pressure up just before full-time as well. Dealt with his crosses quite well. His kicking was good. No complaints at all for Carl Darlow. Definitely dusted off the Arsenal mistake pretty easily last night. No issues with him. You go through the back line. James Justin and Jayden Bogle for me were excellent. Both of them were excellent. Interchanging in positions, not just passes. James Justin would go forward. Jayden Bogle would sit in. Then sometimes the two of them would go. The link-up play was really, really good. There's a good understanding between the two of them there. Joe Rodon, quite enough game, but managed that defence quite well. Sat between the two centre halves and conducted the orchestra, as they say, and managed to keep it tight. Pascal Stroke, a few little moments just on the left-hand side where maybe the ball go under or spot a little bit, but outside of that, very, very solid. Won his headers, won his second balls. Gabby Goodmunson, a quieter game by Gabby. Good, very good going forward. Got in behind their fullback a couple of times in the first half and definitely had the beating of him before he was taken off in the second half. Defensively was leaving a few gaps, but ultimately nothing that really cost Leeds. It was just that spell in the first half where they were getting in behind him. Daniel Farke called him over to the halfway line at one point and had a chat with him about that. And then you saw Noah Okafor drop a lot deeper to try and give him a hand. And that kind of sorted out that issue. But outside that, no major factors. Ilya Grub, my man of the match. Personally, I thought he was fantastic. This tackling was excellent. He won his duels. He was putting some very big, hefty tackles at times in the middle of the park. two beautiful as well. One definitely deliberately beautiful assist, and one that was probably a shock, but still a good assist. He had a 98% passing accuracy in the match, which is phenomenal at Premier League level. He's had a 90% passing accuracy average over the course of the whole season, but to get 98% in one game for what is essentially, as people say, a defensive midfielder who doesn't pass forward. His 4 passes last night were fantastic. His guard look is off the map. It's excellent. The pass he got through, definitely a career-defining game in Leeds, sure, possibly. That might be a bit of hyperbole, but we just thought he really stood out last night. So, yeah, probably his best game in Leeds United shirt. Ethan Ampadu, quiet by Ethan's standards, but did his job incredibly well. Swept the midfield, allowed Gruev to have a bit more license to get forward and pass those balls around. Sat in, won the second balls, won his tackles, kept it simple. No major issues. I thought he was very, very steady. Didn't stand out, but that's not necessarily always a bad thing in the middle of the park. Brendan Aronson, probably a tougher game for him. He got lumps kicked out of him last night. He was on the ground quite a lot. The muck didn't help him as well. I think he had the wrong studs in at one point as well. He was sliding around the place in the first half, but he still worked really, really hard and tried to help out his team. His pressing was good. Not the quality in the ball that we've seen from him over the last couple of weeks, but yeah, he's got a credit in the bank at this stage. He's entitled to win those kind of games. Now, Okafor, as I said, are already very, very good defensively, made tackles, came back and helped out Gabby Goodmunson, closed passing lanes really, really well. When he got on the ball, he looked okay, he looked dangerous at times. I would rather see the ball played in front of him and let him run at people than having to get the ball with the back to goal. But he had a couple of lovely little flicks to get into some space and half turns. So yeah, he was tidy enough. Dominic Calvert-Lewin won his headers, didn't do a huge amount else massively important in the game. Bar the goal, and also his run for Jayden Bogle's goal. He drags the centre halves out of position to give space for Jayden Bogle to run in behind. So that was very clever. Old school number 9 stuff, but very, very good. And the subs came on. Dan James had 2 moments where he cut the ball back into dangerous enough areas from the end line. First one, he definitely should have shot himself. He had a good chance to maybe extend the lead for Leeds at that point. They meant for the square ball across the box or tapping, but there was nobody there. But it bodes well for the future that there will be Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Lucas Metches coming into those pullbacks. And he looked good last night when he did come on. Dan James. Sean Longstaff definitely needs a bit of match sharpness. Looked a bit of a half a yard off of it. Worked hard, but was always kind of chasing shadows a little bit. But he needs games. That's all he'll need. And he'll be fine once he gets into it. And yeah, Lucas Metches was called back twice to come onto the pitch, and twice never got on the park. And then Sebastian Bornell came on at the end for an absolutely exhausted Jayden Bogle going off. Brendan Aronson got whacked to the ribs as well. So I didn't see if he's okay for the Chelsea game in midweek. But yeah, excellent from every single one of them. So where does that leave us at this point? As I say, 9 points clear at the time of recording. But it's another game down. And the available points are getting less and less. We've got a really tough 3-game period coming up. We could get nothing out of the next 3. So getting that buffer now is really, really important. Other sides are going to drop points as well. They're also going to pick up points. So take them when we can. But we have dragged others into this as well. So if we can get a couple of points over the next 3 games, there's no reason we can't go to Stamford Bridge and get a point. It could be really, really important. And then we come out of that 3-game block into a far more winnable block of games for Leeds. And that's where our points will come. And our running, I would definitely rather have our running than any of the sides that are down there with us. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on the game. It was needed. I think I talked myself into a point being a good result before kickoff. I was a bit nervous about it going into the game. But a huge result. Huge result. And an excellent performance. Yeah, the goal from them is disappointing. It takes the clean sheet away. But the effort and energy put into that performance last night on a very, very tiring pitch. And it was cutting up. It was heavy. The ball was sticking. It was sloppy. But yeah, the Brownsmen did a cracking job to make sure that game even went ahead last night. The amount of rain that was in Leeds yesterday. So great job to him. So well done, Daniel Farke. You got your team sheet bang on the money. We talk about that after a game. But yeah, well done to the players as well. Fantastic performance. Puts Leeds in a decent position now coming into the weekend. And at least we can relax and know that the Gap will, the worst case scenario, be back to 6 points heading into the midweek games. Folks, let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks to those for supporting the channel. Check out the links down below. Give us a subscribe and a like. And if you listen on audios, feel free to give us a channel rating and a follow. Outside of that, I'll be back on Monday morning with Leeds United News. We'll have the Sunday sessions for members tomorrow, available free on the audio platforms for everybody else. And outside of that, talk to you soon. See you later.